What's going on YouTube? Bendable Straws back with another Envoy exclusive video for you guys. And today we have Updog and Dacier joining us to talk about our Battle World experiences, what they thought about the call that we had with a guy named Sean, and our second Battle World experience that we had on a second playtest after they made some changes. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Initially with Battle World, the first playtest was something that was absolutely incredible. It was something we've never seen before. Like you guys can see here, some of the UI that we were seeing was something that was absolutely different. It was just something that we've never seen before. So it was welcomed very well. In the initial playtest, we actually were able to use Pegasus instead of this Astral that you guys see. And it was really nice. The initial playtest was really cool, but it also had a lot of flaws. Some of the flaws that we noticed were that sometimes when we battle, the animations would just go on forever. Like the animations would just drone and drone and drone. There were some characters like this guy named Morbius, man. I'm telling you, he felt like a boss. He would spawn with like 6 safeguards, 6 evades, and your timer just went down in the dumps and you were never able to clear the mission. That was some feedback we gave immediately to the developers on the first playtest. And as the siege days went on, we actually got to see some improvements go by. So I think we did siege day 1, siege day 2, then siege day 3 went about, and then that's when they started to take a little bit of our feedback once we started clearing some zones and things started to get harder. Some of the developers were saying, well, as these Spec Ops missions go, we want to see if you're able to clear it without the Spec Ops missions giving you the bonus VP. So we tried it there. To be very clear with you guys, we all tried it at level 75 Blue ISO 1 with no T4s. We did a base difficulty of the initial test, and that's what we tested with. There were a little bit of discrepancies with some accounts that didn't get brought up, and some of them were level 100, but they still contributed the same amount of points as they would with a level 75 account. As the siege days went on, Lori, one of the members on the Envoy experience for us on the Envoy server, of course, she said, we're adding a feature to where the timer is actually going to stop when it is your turn. Like, if the enemies are taking a whole bunch of animations and everything, the timer stops. And we also get an additional minute on that timer. So now we're fighting with 6 minutes instead of only fighting with 5. But as you guys play, you guys are going to notice that the timer is way better than it would be if it was just counting down. That was just the first initial playtest. And when we reached the boss node of Null, it was an absolute breath of fresh air. You guys are definitely going to want to reach the final boss. You're going to want to be with your alliances, and you're going to want to clear every zone. No alliance likes to be left behind, especially an event like this. So you definitely want to get your alliance in line. I cannot stress that enough, that your alliances need to be in line when it comes to clearing all of these difficulties. Now, I'm not necessarily sure if everybody starts off on the base difficulty, but you guys can move up the difficulties as you progress within the zones. So about the call, I actually was not able to attend the call, but I haven't even watched it personally. But Updog and Dacier were able to attend the call, and they can give you your thoughts here in a little bit. The second play test that we were able to get, we mentioned some changes like, oh, we need to get rid of, say, we need to get rid of one of those missions because it's just, some of them are almost impossible. So they ended up changing the second ones. One of the missions was, it was one of those Morbius missions, right? It was just an impossible mission to complete. So they changed it with something called a Herald mission that Updog is actually going to be covering later in the video. And the second playtest went great until we reached the Siege Day 5 where we couldn't complete anymore. And I guess they didn't want us to continue on forth. But we were testing with our original accounts that we're playing with in Marvel Strike Force. And it was definitely a breath of fresh air. I definitely felt that a level 75 alliance would not fare well in a difficulty 4, or they would definitely have some issues there, because when you load into a battle you can retreat and then you can keep your team, but it will eat up one of your 3 attacks, so you have to plan very, 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 very carefully. We can't necessarily give an honest feedback on the battle world store, because it wasn't available. The rewards changed. We don't necessarily know what the rewards are going to be, but it does seem like you guys are probably gonna be getting null shards from the rewards. So I'm not necessarily sure what they're gonna do. Of course, everything is subject to change. So with that being said, the second playtest experience was really good. It left me in a good headspace. It left me knowing that, sure, there was a little bit of intricacies that needed to get completed, but overall it's going to be an amazing test, and they're actually going to be letting us test it a 3rd time with the Astral team. So you guys definitely want to check out these Envoy videos. Initially, Dacier, what were your experiences with the initial playtest, the Envoy call, and your second playtest experience?
Yeah, so the initial playtest, logging into it, I was super excited. The UI I thought was really good. We wanted to try to see how the UI would be, basically try to figure things out without them telling us. So being able to kind of go into the zone, kind of see who gets the buffs and who doesn't get the buffs. Each node definitely has, like, use Annihilators, use Extreme X-Men, for instance. So during the blogs that they've been sending out where it's build these teams, it's basically for those tags usually is going to be the case for that. Now certain teams, like they had Alpha Flight on there, how they're a mixed team, that's probably going to be use Alpha Flight here. There were some bugs we definitely ran into to where you kind of got kept in a loop, but that's going to get fixed. That's just a usual bug type of thing. The playthrough felt very easy, even at the level 75 mark that we were playing at. And some of the characters didn't have the full ISOs. Like if it was Hive Mind, Venom wouldn't have his blue ISO, but you were able to get through it pretty easily. They were definitely taking the feedback that we were giving them, because we had a lot of feedback to where the Morbius that you mentioned, and I think that's one of the ways we kind of got into, hey, let's have another like mini boss node to try to change it up a little bit. When we got to the phone call with Sean, everybody was definitely honest about the takes that we had regarding it, saying try to make these types of changes that we're going to be discussing later on in the video. And honestly, I did maybe about 2 or 3 days leading up to null, because we had a lot of things in the game, like a lot of screen time. I believe one of the towers came out at that time, correct?
Yeah, that was the kiln. The kiln that was out at the time.
Yeah, so like Monday, I had Kiln, I had Cosmic Crucible, I had War, I had Battleworld, and it just got way too much for me, so I missed that day. And they were welcome to that feedback as well, to where we're saying there was way too much feedback, and for how easy the nodes were, we basically logged in, hit auto, and set our phone down for 6 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that part definitely was lacking for me. Like the first few nodes, I was very excited, and then how easy it was until we got to the Morbius node.
A dang Morbius.
The null fight, though, was by far the best experience of it. That felt like a real world boss that we've been looking for in the game. It's just trying to lead up to it felt like it was a lot of chores. Like, okay, clean your room, now do your dishes, eat your vegetables, now you get your dessert. Here's null. That's kind of what it felt like for me. The second playtest with the changes they made still felt good, but I feel they need to make more changes personally. The difficulty that we tested on, I think it was the difficulty 5, or yeah, I think it was the difficulty 5 that we did, right? Where it was level 100, 7 red required type of thing.
I believe it was the difficulty 4 because the devs didn't want us to do a difficulty 5 because they were afraid that it was gonna be too hard and we wouldn't get a good experience.
Right. Yep. In that one, we used our actual roster, and it was more the same. Log in, hit auto. So, like, for where my roster's at, it's definitely too easy still. I really want them to amp up the difficulty so it's not like another raid where we don't have a sim button. So I really hope they are open to ramping up the difficulty, making more changes, because they've definitely done it the first time. They were listening to our feedback on the phone call, and they even understood. It's like, okay, well, that explains why the participation went down as the days went on.
Yeah.
It was too easy, and we had another screen time. So I'm hoping there's more changes, but so far I'm optimistic and hoping that everything does get to where it needs to be.
Yeah, things definitely need to get better before they get worse. I definitely agree. I want the difficulty to be like this flash challenge that we just got with these new enemies that is just absolutely impossible to beat with these characters that we got. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Some of the feedback that we were giving was like, let's try and add scourges. Let's add unique uniqueness to the fights. And I think that's kind of how they got into the zombie and vampire thing. Maybe they took from that and moved over here. I'm not sure, but if those type of mechanics get put into Battle World in like certain nodes, that would be chef's kiss right there.
That would be incredible. Updog, what was your experience with the first playtest, the call you had with Sean, with the developers, of course, and your second playtest experience?
Yeah, so pretty similar to you guys. I, like Dacier said, I wanted to go in there basically blind. I just wanted to play around with it and see what would happen. I tried teams that like didn't get the bonuses for each node, you know.
Ooh,
like there was
that's good. Yeah.
There was one that was like, I don't know. There was one that they had bonuses for Sinister 6, but you could use like Hero Spider-Verse or maybe it's like
yeah, something like that.
So anyway, I went the opposite direction just to see how hard it was, because our rosters were all set at level 75 and gear 14. So I wanted to see how hard it was, and it really wasn't that bad. But then the Spec Ops, you know, I kind of knew from what they kind of talked about before we had the play test, and I thought I could just fill all those rows in with all these characters that I didn't need. And you can only use 10 characters.
Yes.
So that was a learning experience, and they do have a lot of information that you can easily miss on there. There's a lot of instructions and how things work. So be looking for that information button, that little I button.
Yeah.
That'll tell you everything you need to know. Bendy over here.
Literally everything you need to know in that little I button.
Yep. So Bendy's like, hey, go check this out. Go read this. And then I read it. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
It explained it 100%. I'll tell you what. See, there's that little I button right there. Oh, there it is. There it is right up there. There's that I button. It'll explain everything for you.
Yeah, that was definitely helpful, but it was a little disappointing because it was so easy. It did feel like we were, you know, it wasn't a full alliance, right, that we were doing, because we don't have that many envoys. We were still able to clear each day. I believe they said during the call that the player's voice, they were doing their own testing. They couldn't get through, but the envoys did.
Oh wow!
So that was kind of funny.
Go envoys, let's go.
Yeah. So but yeah, you don't need a full alliance, and I can see why they tested, or they wanted us to test at the level 75 mark just to see how new alliances are going to go.
Absolutely.
But, if you're in an alliance that you're all level 100, then difficulty 4, like we ran in the second one, is still going to be fairly easy for you. Now they did so in the call. We talked about a lot of things. I think they are going to go with difficulty 4. Like, you can start off right away at difficulty 4, and then unlock difficulty 5, so you don't have to go 6 weeks of unlocking each difficulty, because that was a big problem we saw with if they were going to keep it that way, that people would just not care and would just be really pissed off that it's just
that
they auto and go, right?
That they waited all this time just to have to be gated behind just doing mindless. Right. That would bore Krakens to no end, right?
Definitely, yeah. And even, I mean, we'll see how difficulty 5 goes, but difficulty 5 might be boring for them too. So yeah, like you guys were saying, I hope they do make it so difficult that it's gonna take like a level cap or a gear tier increase, something to get through it. So then after the call, you guys talked about the timer. I thought that was a really good idea.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe they haven't done that in other modes.
Oh, they need to do it. They need to do it in every game mode, even Alliance War.
We definitely
like
get
a
that
reverse.
feedback.
Yeah. It's like a reverse chess timer, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So you, like, the timer stops when it's your turn. You get to actually take. I don't know. I think there should be a limit, like how long you should take to pick your move. But you do get plenty of time to like think about, okay, do I want to use this? Do I want to use a special? Do I want to use the ult? Whatever. So yeah, that was great that they did that. That was during the first test, but during the second test, reducing some of the missions, and it was kind of bugged a little bit, so I didn't get to do it too much. But I really wish we would have gotten to null on that second test, because that is without a doubt the funnest thing. And I had told them during the call that I hope they reduce the number of zones. They said they can, but I don't think they're going to until they start hearing more feedback about that, because 6 zones doing the same thing every day, just autoing through, just isn't fun. I think 4 zones and then like a 5th zone of null or something, or 3 zones.
Yeah, so it's going to be 6 days, 6 days of sieges, and on the 5th day, I believe there's an elite mission with like 2 Mephistos in it and a whole bunch of annihilators. And there's also a tag in there that has the everything tag, which means that every single game mode is on. So you're definitely going to want to participate in Battle World. That was something that definitely caught us off guard. How was the continuation of your second experience, Updog?
It was, like I said, it was buggy. I didn't get to do it very much. It was about the same, I think, because we had our live game rosters in that time. I was still just autoing, and yeah, and then it bugged out, so we didn't get very far. So that's basically my experience.
Yeah, I definitely want to see some changes happen from the second playtest experience, even from the third playtest experience that we're going to be doing. I'm telling you guys want to battle that guy up there, and while you battle null, like when you load in, like Jose was saying in the strike spot, you don't have to wait to battle the boss at the same time. Like, you don't have to wait for somebody to go in and battle him. You get to go in. All 24 alliance mates can go in and destroy this guy. And after he's destroyed, he just regains his health back up, and you can destroy him again. So you definitely want to plan with your alliance to not necessarily use all of your attacks at once, and there are no restrictions on who you can use in the final null battle. In the final null battle, I used a team like, I used Mephisto Annihilators, then I used Sus Secret Defenders, and then I used Mercs for Money Tangled APOC. and is still got destroyed on difficulty 1 at level 75. Updog, what teams did you use during the final null battle? I actually want to know this.
I think I did use Annihilator's Mephisto as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't seem to last as long. I'm trying to think what else. I like Spider Society a lot, so I think I ran them with like Scroll or something, and they they got a lot of sustain, so they lasted quite a while. But yeah, I don't know if the dev is more concerned about just getting ultimately destroyed by null with that difficulty 5 level,
Oh
or
yeah.
what his deal is, why he thinks difficulty 5 is going to be so hard. Because looking at the stats on difficulty 5, doesn't look like it's too much. So, but yeah, that null bottle, or the null battle is definitely, it's going to take a whole alliance, all 24 people and all 3 attacks. So
Absolutely. Dacier, so we ended up seeing a darkness effect, right? And we also saw a rage effect. And we saw Null summoning a whole bunch of symbiotes as well. That blue bar you see up there is his turn meter, the green bar is his health, and all of those different abilities are his basic, special, ultimate, and passive. When you click on them, it gives you a little bit of intro and everything. And the little bar graph you see up there shows the different enemies that are going to be on the node and all of the modifiers that are going to be on there. Dacier, what did you take to the final null battle?
I don't remember the exact. I know I had one team where I did a pretty good amount of damage that I thought I did.
Dude, you did a lot of damage. I saw it show up.
Yeah, so the APOC was MVP of one team because the Falcon Punch, even though it doesn't do that max like 60% health gone, it's the kids, they put like a limiter on it, but that still wrecked them pretty good. I think I did Annihilators on one of them. One of the other ones I did like a little weird unique team. I need to look to see what it was I did, but that one actually did fairly well, and I think that's when I threw APOC with it. Another one I just kind of got trounced because I didn't really know what I was doing, but you get 3 attacks per node and also 3 attacks on the boss node. The null fight, we didn't get to like see the environment that they advertised. We just like shot
what was
him on
that?
like some rooftop or something, which was weird. It's like, I'm fighting null on a building.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
So like watching
I swear it was in the environment.
No, we battled Null in the city. Like when you initially start the game, we were just battling him in the city, and that was one of the things that was the key point. We're supposed to be battling him at his throne.
Yeah, and so like watching the Strike Spot video that Pathfinder and Strike Fox did, and actually like hearing the music that we're gonna be experiencing, and that's actually really cool. They got Gore to like do a song for the game for this, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh yeah.
As far as the waves go, like leading up to the null fight, so we have those 5 zones. Then the 6th zone is null. Each of the nodes, you basically get 3 attempts into that, and it's going to take your high. So if you don't clear it, just at least try to get, I think, to wave 4, and that's going to kind of be your limit. And then anything beyond that's going to be like bonus points.
Yeah.
For those that's kind of curious, but that was something that kind of threw me off. It's like, okay, well, if I can back out and have that attack not count, I can go back in.
Yeah.
Then I can just keep trying until I clear it, until you actually save that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like a unique thing. So if you have like, say, your Secret Defenders team and you do really bad at the opening, it's like, okay, I'm gonna back out, try again. You can do that as many times as you want until you actually decide, I want to save this hit. And then you can try some other teams to see if you can like beat that wave portion. That was kind of important on the infamous Morbius fight.
Yeah. Oh, dang, Morbius, man.
Yeah, but the null fight, just having him keep summoning those endless swarms of symbiotes was so cool. and as the rage builds up, it's like, okay, this isn't too bad.
No.
Then it's like phase 2, the fight has started now. Then it's
Yeah,
more rage.
it just keeps
Phase 3, it's like,
progressively getting more difficult and more difficult. The animations are something you guys are definitely going to want to see. When I saw Null Ultimate, oh my goodness, I was in shock and awe. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
And I like the thematic, like, throughout the different zones, you had, like, a node of symbiotes or something. Like, they were all spawning in at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Had an anti-venom or whatever in there to revive them if need be. So, yeah, I liked they kept to the theme, which was good.
Yeah, I definitely liked the thematics of it all. It's definitely going to be one for the books when we finally get into a final version of this. Our third playtest is going to be happening very soon, so hopefully we can share some more information with you guys. But moving forward, I believe we're going to be covering some sections. I believe we're going to be covering some of the full missions that were removed, or an additional mission that was removed for a Herald mission. I believe Mr. Dacier is going to be covering that, and the Herald missions moving into turning into a mini boss version of sorts. Because when we brought up that Morbius, that is what sparked the mini boss of it all, right? And of course, he's going to be going over the Herald missions and all of the simple but fun mechanics that players can engage with. And it's gonna be really nice. Updog is actually gonna be covering some more stuff that we can talk about when we continue the continuation of this video. So let's move on to the next topics of Battleworld. All right, everybody, we are back with some more information about Battleworld. And my topic of the day is going to be these Spec Ops missions right here. I thought they were very interesting. In the initial playtest that we did, we saw some pretty crazy requirements. Let me tell you what, if you are a Kraken, you better Kraken harder, because there's even diamond requirements in there for dark promotion credits as well. The dark promotion characters, it's crazy. When the Spec Ops missions, of course, your alliance is going to want to look at those first. Because as you can see, there's, 8, and you can put in 10 permissions. So that's 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, for a total of 24 alliance members, putting in 10 at a time. 8 times 3 is 24. Everybody can put in 10 at a time, and you can fill in all of those Spec Ops missions. Something to note about those Spec Ops missions is that you can only use 10 characters a day, but you have to do it from the requirements that the Spec Ops requires, of course. And you guys can get all of those bonus points that you guys see there. But in the requirements of the Spec Ops missions, it's very important to note, sometimes it is going to ask your alliance to put in characters that you need in these sieges. That is something that is very, very, very important. It's going to take a lot of leadership. Updog is a leader in the alliance, so he definitely knows what I'm talking about. In the first siege, the Spec Ops missions were like, oh, put in these shield ops, or oh, put in Infinity Watch, or something you're not necessarily going to be thinking about. Then Siege Day 2 came in, and then it was like, hey, do you want to give up your Pegasus? Do you want to give up your Pegasus? Knowing that you needed your Pegasus for the elite missions. So you really wanna gauge it. You don't want to necessarily do something that's god awful. You don't want to limit your alliance, because this is all point based. It's gonna take everybody to move the pack forward. As far as the Spec Ops requirements from the day-to-day, I was seeing some horrendous things. Like, there was a gear tier 19 requirement, a 7-star requirement, a 7 red star requirement on top of a gear tier, and even the diamonds that I was talking about. There was a Spec Ops mission that I saw that had requirements of a 2 diamond APOC and a 2 diamond Captain Britain. Do you understand how many dark diamonds that is? You can't even fathom. So Krakens, be warned, you guys will see diamond requirements on there. And there's no way to get these diamonds on these characters right now. So be very careful about where you're putting your Spec Ops missions, because if you do 20 out of 30 on a Spec Ops mission, you don't get points for it. It has to be 30 of 30 in the Spec Ops mission for those points to count as it tiers up all the way up. You need to coordinate with your alliance. So see how that says City, Cosmic, Spider-Verse, Cosmic, Pegasus, Astral, Spec Ops? You don't want to use City, you don't want to use Spider-Verse, you don't want to use Pegasus. My recommendation to you all watching this video is to do your missions first, and then go to the Spec Ops missions and use what you have left over. Once you guys reach that 60k threshold, then you guys can sort of decide on what extra Spec Ops missions you guys want to do. But remember, this is a leaderboard event for Purple ISO. All the VP matters. So all those bonus points you see up there, all the way up, that can be the difference maker within the top 10. I definitely loved these Spec Ops missions. Dacier, what did you think about the initial playtest in the secondary when you were seeing the Spec Ops missions?
So because the first playtest we did, we were doing that level 75 account and everything. I did all my fights first, and I kind of went in a little bit late, so I'm like, okay, let me do my Spec Ops. I went in there, I'm like, how do I add people to the Spec Ops? Because they were all done. So I'm trying to figure out how to add characters to the Spec Ops. Like, oh no, the Spec Ops are done. So then I think it was like the next day or day 3, because I missed a couple days of this. I'm like, okay, let me take another look at this. So I go in the Spec Ops, and I started adding characters in there before I did my fight. So when I went to do the fights, they were much more difficult.
Oh yeah, you found out.
I found out the hard way.
Oh yeah.
Definitely try to do the fights first. So like if you have 2 city nodes, okay, I'm going to do these fights first, see what they require, jump over to Spec Ops to see if there's anything that I need to hold back on. So you need to do a little bit of homework. That's where the whoever's going to be the leader or captain of the Battle World portions at, they need to really match the zone with the Spec Ops to let people know, don't use Captain Britain on this Illuminati node. Use the free Illuminati. Use Captain Britain here, for instance. So there's going to be a lot of coordination. Luckily, I don't have to deal with that. I'm a captain, but I'm not like in that role portion for Battle World.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Green Ranger. You're probably gonna make me do that, aren't you? All right.
Oh,
Updog, how about you?
Yeah, Updog. We wanna know your feedback, because you're an alliance leader, right? You manage an alliance. You definitely got to have people in line. You can't have people making the wrong mistakes, especially the communication is paramount, literally paramount. What were your thoughts on the Spec Ops with your initial and secondary playtest?
So I kind of did what Dacier did, but I was on the first day was where I put in the Spec Ops characters before I did my attacks, but it was characters, it was the first day, so it wasn't that bad. It was like defenders, and it was like, I don't know, minions or something like that. So it wasn't that bad. But, and so I guess to answer your leader part of the question here, I've already picked out my Battle World captain, so I think you may need 2 people to manage this. If the leader's not going to be too heavily involved, which I plan on being at the beginning, but you may eventually need 2 people to kind of keep track of this, because you know, the Spec Ops is going to be important, like you said, for the leaderboard points.
Oh yeah.
I don't think just top 10. I think top 100 is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be that fraction of
sorting it out.
Yeah.
You know, filter of sorts. So That Battle World captain, I think most of their time is going to be spent like sorting out the Spec Ops, and then telling, maybe you have big spenders that'll put those diamond characters in there for more points. But yet, maybe they won't do some of the harder nodes or something. I don't know how that's going to play out. We'll have to see. But yeah, it'll be super interesting. I've already made my plans with my captain. My captain's super excited about it. So yeah, we'll have to see how it goes.
Remember, everybody, you guys can, and we didn't mention this previously in the video because I just remembered about it. If you guys are in the first siege day, you can look ahead. Now, this is for captains and leaders. When you're in the first siege day, you can look at day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. You can look all the way ahead and create a battle plan day 1. As you can see up there in there, you can click on those little locked figures and it'll take you into those siege days. It'll tell you exactly what zones and what missions and what spec ops you're going to be running into. But one initial thing that I did see during our playtest was that every siege day was 60,000 points. So that is something that is very, 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 very important to note. Updog, I want to thank you for your time, and Dacier, thank you so much for being here with us. I'm so glad you guys were able to join this roundtable of envoys to sort of get a first feel of how we experienced the battle world and sort of what they told us on the call and in the second playtest and everything, of course. So be sure to check out Updog's channel. His link will be in the description, and Dacier's YouTube channel as well as both of their Twitch channels, because we're going to be going over some more topics about Battle World that you won't want to miss. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will catch all of you guys in the next one.